Welcome back to the pod. I have two incredible guests today who I met on the Global March to Gaza. Their names are Paul and Mireille. They came up from Windsor just to hang out with me for a few days. I was feeling really alone after going there and was feeling very helpless, and I felt very disconnected, and they're retired, so they offered to come up. And so I hung out with them for a couple days, and it was really nice. And they agreed to be on the podcast, which I'm so grateful for. I hope you enjoy it. It's just the three of us talking about what it was like to be in Egypt and what our hopes are for the world. Okay, so as you all know, well, some of you may not know, but I was on the Global March to Gaza, which my producer Youssef wanted to come, but it was too late for him to join because they were processing applications. They didn't have the capacity to. But so when I went, I was part of the Canadian delegation. We were over 100 people, and I met two incredible people on the march, and they're here right now. Please welcome Paul and Mireille.
Hello.
Gosh.
Why? Gosh, thanks.
Okay, fine. You're not incredible. You're just like really normal people.
Just ordinary.
And you're not interesting at all, actually.
Yeah, just ordinary schmuck.
Ordinary. Working class.
Speaking
I do
for
love the word
myself.
schmuck, and there's nothing wrong with being working class.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
It got us to Cairo.
It got us to Cairo.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you guys, how did you guys meet?
Well, we're both
Wow, that story.
activists in Windsor. So
And-
our circles were bounded.
Right. And what kind of activism do you do in Windsor?
Oh, a little bit. Anti-poverty.
Wow.
Worker issues was my big thing, especially
Yes.
non-union workers.
Yes.
Amazing.
We did some work during COVID, getting culturally appropriate food to migrant workers during COVID that
Wow.
went on
Yeah.
lockdown. So we did that
And
for
PPE,
What's PPE?
personal protective equipment.
Oh, right.
So that was outrageous, really, because the United Way had a grant to provide,
from the federal government.
to provide personal protective equipment and food to migrant workers. And my first reaction was, well, aren't these people workers? Shouldn't their employers be providing them with this? Why is it a matter of charity? It shouldn't be a matter of charity.
And how did you first hear about the March to Gaza? Like was it like online?
I saw it on Blue Sky on social media.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is, just prior to that, Paul and I were, I don't know, in the kitchen or something. And I turned to him and I said, well, what if we just went there? What if a
Right.
bunch of people just went there and just stood there until they opened the doors? And then here was this thing on Blue Sky.
Somebody heard us.
Yeah. I thought, well, I guess we're not the only ones who thought this way.
I've thought that a million times this
Yes,
whole time
yeah.
where it's like, what if I just go? What if I just go? What if all of us from the world descend upon the border
Yes, yeah.
and bring the food in? Like,
yeah.
it
Or
felt-
shame them. Or
yes, like it felt like such an empowering thought to do that. And so how much time did you have to make a decision? Like from when you found out about it to when you decided you were going?
Probably like that last full week of May or something.
Okay.
And then we thought we were going to go, and then we wavered and thought, no, it's too crazy. So we made the key was to book your flight, and
Yes.
then they get you on the signal channel. So we booked our
But
flights on June 2nd.
But I think what happened though was I'm part of a pro-Palestine group in Windsor, and we have a signal chat, and we were bandying about the idea of, wouldn't it be great? And I said, I think I might go. And people, especially the Palestinians, were saying, oh, really? You'd go? And one woman hugged me, and it became clear to me that for the Palestinians in Windsor, this was like deeply important that somebody from here go. So it became more compelling, that
Right.
we should go.
You got the immediate reaction right there.
when I recognized
Mhm.
how important this was to people who have family there. And
that we'd been
yeah,
marching and rallying with for 2 years. So then
yes, yeah,
that's right. We determined that we should
we
go.
should go. And we got a GoFundMe together, and then things just sort of like fell into place, you know.
Did anyone try to stop you from going?
Mm-mm.
No.
No. My family talked to me multiple times and they were like, that money that you're spending, why don't you just donate it? And it's like, I am donating. Like, I donate to organizations and to people directly, but the more you give, the more they need. Like,
Mhm.
the systems are failing us, and I'm going to try and fix the system because
Yeah.
we can donate here and there, but that's not fixing anything, you
Yeah.
know? And wow, yeah. So you guys made the decision.
Yeah.
Did it feel good that you had each other, that you weren't going alone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me anyway, I don't know
Well, yeah,
if
it's
I would
better.
have gone alone.
I mean, that was the other thing. There was no question that we wouldn't go together.
Right.
Like if Mireille really didn't want to go, or if I didn't want to go, I guess we wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
We both felt strongly,
Yeah.
and then just especially with the people we got to know through the marches and rallies, and
Yeah.
if they thought it was a big deal, then
They were telling us the opposite. It's interesting because there was a guy in Windsor, wonderful, wonderful man, who he teaches nursing at York,
and he's
and
Palestinian.
he commutes, and he's Palestinian. He got his nursing degree in Gaza through. He has quite a story to tell about how that happened. They met in people's living rooms. By hook or by crook. Anyway, we were standing on the corner, you know, during a rally, holding signs and flags, and he said, "Oh, you'll be fine. You go to
Oh,
Egypt, don't worry." He said, "You're white. You have
yeah.
an international passport. I'm not. I wouldn't worry about that at all."
Yeah. There was a level of privilege and protection that our Canadian passports would offer us.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and having grown up in the Middle East, I knew that having that passport would be a shield for protection and
Yeah.
that they couldn't do to us what they do. And that's another reason I wanted to go is
Mm-hmm.
because Egyptians themselves or Palestinians in Egypt, they're not allowed to protest,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
And
that's right.
because it's a military dictatorship and they could be prisoned.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that nothing would happen to us
Yes.
was
Yes.
like, oh, okay, I need to use this privilege I have.
Yes.
Because the
That's right.
people that were glad we were going, they could put other family members at risk that live in that
Yeah.
region, or if they went,
Mhm.
they'd be at risk. You know, so
Yeah.
we felt not. The most dreaded thing anybody could say to me is I have, white savior syndrome. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything. Just we had some privilege, and if we used it, and
Yeah.
I'm it's not because I pity or whatever. It's to truly solidarity with
Mhm.
people that are suffering. And from my perspective, they're working class families. They're doctors, lawyers, all kinds of workers, and their entire families.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I was trying to be in solidarity with, both of us. And so we felt if we can go, we should go.
Right. That's how I felt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I oscillated between the two. And when I would choose not to go, I just felt so sad and I couldn't even sit with myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because with the Canadian delegation was so organized, they sent us a PDF of what to expect and the plan and what we should pack. And one of the things to pack was like a snake bite or,
Oh, I forgot
Mhm.
about
the
that. Yeah.
scorpion. That's what scared me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if you know me, you know I hate walking. I hate the sun. I hate camping. I've never been camping. Like, truly, when they sent that PDF, I was like, oh, this is going to be a march.
But
Yeah.
and the scorpion and snake part jumped out at me too. Two of my
Yeah.
least favorite. Well, it's scorpions I don't know about,
I
but
forgot
snakes.
about that.
Yeah,
Dr.
but-
El Masri said, "Well, it's the desert."
Yeah,
But then
that's right.
he said, I wouldn't worry about it. Don't.
Yeah.
He really set my heart. After talking to him, I thought, okay, I can go. I was more afraid of the police state, to tell you the truth.
Right.
But
you know what he said too was El Rish, where we were supposed to begin our march from. He, as a child, they would spend summers there.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I guess it's pretty beautiful
right.
beaches, and it's right along the coast, you know. So
Yeah.
he knew the area, and he knew that town. So that just the logistics of it, that march, because we were talking, you know, about walking that distance, and obviously, like on Google Maps, it says 11 hours if you just walk straight. But we
Yeah.
were going to go in the early morning and evening, right, and avoid the sun. So it was going to be like 3 days. But we were saying, you know, everything will be new, so it's not going to seem like it might not seem like total drudgery. Plus, all the people that we would be with, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
what an experience, right? And it's just when I think of what it might have been like if we got to Rafah and the thousands of people that would have been
Oh.
there, man, it would have been.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's exactly what they didn't want to have happen.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
there
and
you
it
go.
was the 3-day thing. I think part of the effect of that would be that we'd be 3 days walking through the desert. There'd be a procession. It would make an
Mhm.
impact. I mean, I know part of it was avoiding the sun and so on, but
Mhm.
I think 3 days of walking was part of the whole like impact.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that either, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know why, like, global solidarity with Palestinians is so dangerous for people
Yes.
to see or observe, you know?
Yes. Yes.
What is so dangerous about it? I think it's because we're humanizing them. You know, we're
Yeah.
going against the propaganda machine.
Mhm.
And for me, like, I message a lot of people in Gaza, and like they just followed me on social media. They asked me to donate. I message here and there. And when they found out that we were trying to bring in food, like they felt supported, you know, that the world hadn't left them behind, that there
Yes.
were people who cared. And I was so shocked at how many different nationalities were there and how many people. Like, I think it was over 4,000 people.
Way more than they were expecting.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of the reason why it was hard to process applications, because
Yeah.
they weren't expecting so many people.
But also something to note is that every delegation in every country went to the Egyptian embassy in their country and told them our plan, and the Egyptian embassies had a positive response. But I think the embassies expected 100 or 200 people max to
Right.
show up,
Right.
not in the thousands. But that was really frustrating to me, because it's like, okay, well, you're giving us positive reactions. You're publicly supporting, you know, Palestine. But when it comes to this show of solidarity, you unleash your police. Well, let's tell people what happened, because
Okay.
we'll start with we had a signal chat, and I asked, hey, is anyone leaving on this flight? And you guys said, yes, we will. So I said, okay, I'll see if I can look out for you. So when we landed in Cairo, I just looked at you, and I don't know why I looked at you. I said, are you Paul? Which was so weird, because you could have
Yeah.
not been Paul.
Yeah,
Well,
because
that's a common name.
we
Wait a
met
minute.
Alana at the Toronto airport, and then we knew you were on the plane too. But of course, you know, there's a couple hundred people. So I remember seeing you standing. I think you'd already said hello. So then we
Yeah.
realized the four of us were kind of in a diagonal line just by fluke the way we were sitting. We were in the same kind of section.
Yeah.
And then what's kind of, you know, spy movie-ish is that we're supposed to
Not
know each other as we're
pretend that
going
we-
through
yeah.
customs and everything, which seems like kind of
cloak and dagger.
yeah,
but-
that's the
but-
word, cloak and
but
dagger.
ridiculous too.
But on
Well,
the
the
other
Dutch
hand,
delegation was sent home as soon as they landed in Egypt.
Oh.
Yeah, they landed and they put them
Oh.
on a bus. And from what I understand, they sent them back to Turkey, which is so random.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But they were being really loud at the airport and
Oh.
online. Like, yeah.
and they seem to be more. It seemed to be the European countries. They were just they were deported. It's I
Yeah.
don't know what.
Hmm.
They,
Yeah.
I
obviously
don't think they
between
expected us to fly all the way across the Atlantic.
well,
You know?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's what it was. But we were also warned. I was more like a last minute thing. Don't bring keffiyehs. Don't bring flags. just be very low key.
And then when we're at the
So
checkpoints, everybody's pulling out all the stuff they have, the
Yeah.
paraphernalia. So obviously, you know,
well,
people did stuff some
other people
things.
did,
Yeah.
but I also heard that the Canadian delegation was the best organized. That
Mhm.
other delegations disintegrated, or
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Well,
I think if you're going to have a revolution, you have to be disciplined. So if people in the leadership are saying this is what we should do, then
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do.
because especially
And you don't want to endanger other people's lives as well.
Yeah.
You know.
the big thing for me is generally I'm an overpacker.
Yeah.
So here we're supposed to be
Oh,
marching
yeah.
for 3 days in the desert.
Yeah.
So like at first I thought, well, we'll bring one big pack for both of us, but that quickly became evident that that's a silly idea. And then, so then what that meant, we both had to, you know, have our own gear. So you had to have just enough. And I just, and to fit it in, I had to go buy a bag. I didn't have anything that was suitable. And Mireille managed to figure out
I borrowed something
her bag,
from my sister. Yeah.
and that was sort of where I was focused at. And then all this talk about phones and burner phones and this, I just gave up on that. We both have Google Pixel phones, so we thought, well, we'll just somewhere along the line we'll just wipe it, you know, factory reset, back up everything first, and
Mhm.
which proved to be more complex and
A burner
I
phone
thought.
would have been a lot easier. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might have been, yeah. And so I kind of just, you got to worry about what I could worry about, and
Yeah.
I thought the packing was really important because we had to follow their directions. That's I guess where I started to go, because we didn't know any better, like how to
Mhm.
walk through the desert. And
Mhm.
Manuel, the key organizer for the Canadian delegation, he'd been on the Mavi Marmara.
Oh, what's that?
That was the boat that got attacked by the Israelis in 2009, 2010.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So he had direct experience with what it's like to, you know, be in a kind of a tense. I mean, we didn't see anything like that, but yeah,
So we had confidence in the leadership.
yes,
If they're telling you do this, then we did that.
because I'd never heard of Palestine Vivre.
Oh, me neither.
That's just
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah.
much a local Montreal thing, but I had no problem. It never occurred to me do these people know what they're doing? I just
Right.
took it that from what we saw of the organizing and the PDF we saw and everything, that this is the real deal, you know?
Mhm.
And then, of course, I think they said every country had 2 delegates to the international global march to Gaza.
Mhm.
Gaza,
Right.
however that was organized. So they, I guess there was pretty solid lines of communication, and that we all got there the way we did. Obviously, all that worked out well.
Mhm.
We all got there,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then I mean, it sort of started even before we left Toronto. There was, you know, they sent messages to not go to the hotels we were
Right.
booked in,
Right.
find something else. So right there, it seemed like it was, ooh, something's afoot, you know.
Mhm.
So we didn't know what to expect at the airport. We thought, you know, maybe we're gonna get detained or
Get pulled
whatever.
over.
But we went through all that. The worst part was making your way through the phalanx of people that want to drive you
Yeah.
from the airport, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were kind of unprepared for that. And then, so then the idea was get to our hotel and wait till the next day, the Friday,
Mhm.
to see how we were gonna
Mhm.
proceed.
The plan was to take a bus to that city, Al Arish, and then have the 3-day walk from there.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure what happened. I think the Egyptian government intervened and asked the bus company. This is my analysis. Asked the bus companies not to
Mhm.
take us. So then we got directions to make our way to
Ismail.
Ismailia, which is an hour and a half from Cairo. And that's where we got stopped at all the military checkpoints. So there were 2
Yeah.
checkpoints. We got stuck at the first one.
Mhm. On
My-
the desert road.
Yeah, might have been my fault because I stopped to exchange currency.
Well, either way, we would have got stopped somewhere.
We
We
would
would've
have stopped
stopped somewhere,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Checkpoint 1 was a lot more happening than checkpoint 2
Yeah,
was
a lot
had more people.
Yeah.
Over 1,000
Flags.
apparently.
They had flags, and I mean, we were singing and chanting too, but
Yeah.
we didn't have the paraphernalia that they had.
No.
They were more
we figured
violent.
a couple hundred people, maybe 200-300 people at the most at the
Our
peak.
checkpoint.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
our checkpoint, yeah.
And what was stunning was that you think you're all alone, and then when they stopped and told, people, I guess, like non-Arabic people to, leave the cars.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all of us are getting out of the cars, and we're seeing each other like for the first time. And even though we're complete strangers, we know
We're all there.
we're all there
for
for
the
the
same
same
thing,
thing. That was kind of stunning. Out in
Yeah,
this
and
highway.
people from all over the world, like
Mhm.
Germany, France,
Mhm.
Switzerland, South Africa. There was someone from Luxembourg, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
how many people live in Luxembourg?
Switzerland, I think, too.
Yeah,
Yeah. But Luxembourg's even smaller.
like
yes.
700,000. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America, like the States, Canada, Sweden, like
Mhm.
so many. Turkey, the Turkish delegation
Mhm.
was
Yeah,
big.
Yes. Ireland.
Yes, Ireland too.
Yeah.
So many people. So what happened is at this checkpoint, they took our passports,
Mhm.
which in hindsight we never should have given them. Like
These
that.
were all plain clothes guys.
Yes.
Yeah, there was no
Yeah.
uniform. So they weren't even technically police. And
Yeah.
you're right. I thought of that later. We handed them over way too soon, and
Yeah, we didn't ask for their IDs. We
yeah.
didn't know who took them.
way too
Mhm.
quickly. I mean,
Yeah. And then they asked us all to get out of the cars and stand by the side of the road.
Mhm.
And then we had a great Uber driver. He was going around
Yeah.
here, listening in, coming
Mhm.
back to us with the intel.
He just made it look like he was strolling
Yeah.
casually, but he's paying attention.
Yeah. Also, I feel like even just the people that I met throughout this have been so helpful. Like even when I was because I hate camping, I went to get a bag. And so the guy at Mech, when he found out what I was buying it for, he slipped me a 25% coupon, which
Oh,
really helped.
nice.
Yeah. And this Uber driver helping. So I did feel solidarity through small one-on-one
Mhm.
moments like that
Mhm.
throughout the journey. And then after that, Paul, you went in to get water for us at this
At the
small
Circle
convenient.
K.
Yeah, at the
Of
circle.
all
at the gas
places, yeah.
station of all, like I knew it was a global company, but it was just startling to see
To see one there.
the Circle K.
Chill out. The
Yeah.
chill out.
And that was
gas station.
one late moment because when I went in, others had already been going there, and these two young guys were trying to fill up the cooler because they were going through water like they never normally do. So they were laughing and
Yeah.
putting water in the cooler, and then we're grabbing it out and waiting, and everybody waited their turn to go buy the cash. And so that kind of looked really familiar in this otherwise surreal
Mhm.
circumstance,
Yeah.
And yeah, so then they held us for, I call it, then
Hours,
that's when the games began about if you
Back-
want your
yeah.
passport, you just have to get on
Get
the
on
bus.
the bus.
Yeah.
And
They brought these big empty buses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they wouldn't tell us where they would go. I speak Arabic, so I was talking to some of them. They were incredibly rude and mean to me and very dismissive,
Mhm.
and just really horrible, I would say, really
Mhm.
horribly treated. And then when they were giving away passports, I was like, yeah, I'm here. And he's like, Canada, US. And then he's like, the first one he showed was mine. And then I took it, and then I felt so much easier
Hmm.
because I was like, okay, I can get home now. Like,
Mhm.
I don't need to worry about not having my passport. But then they barricaded us.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was really horrible. That's the moment where I was like, okay, now you're crossing a line. Like, we've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Yes.
We're here in solidarity. We've told your embassies what we're planning on doing.
Mhm.
We're peaceful. Everyone who was on the march had to sign an ethics charter and a commitment to
That's right.
nonviolence.
That's right.
You also had to fill out an application, prove history of activism. Like, not just anyone could join,
Mhm.
like you had to show that you were publicly or like pro-Palestine. So that's what was hurtful. It was like treating us like criminals when really all we're trying to do is get food, water, and medicine in to a starving, bombed population.
Yeah.
Truly.
Some of those guys were, there's a word, there's a name for them. The plainclothes guys, they weren't really police either. They were gangs, or they were,
Oh, البلطجية.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're hoodlums, or I don't know.
Yes. And they were in checkpoint. Were they in checkpoint 1?
I thought they
Yeah,
were. Yeah.
Oh.
mostly.
Yeah.
It looked like checkpoint 2 from the videos I've seen since. There was, they were riot police,
Right.
and every one of them was in their 20s or so,
Right.
Yeah.
and some even had sympathy for
Palestine. Yeah.
Palestine
Yeah.
and for the people at checkpoint 2.
Really?
So I don't, like, it must have been crazy when they got everybody to go on the buses there. But in our case, yeah, it was all these plainclothes guys.
A lot. Yeah.
And I looked them up on Wikipedia and that term.
Yeah.
And so it details, like, they were there during Tahrir Square, during
Right.
the Arab Spring. But I mean, I knew, you know, whatever they did to us to get us on the bus was treating us with kids' gloves as far as they're concerned, because these are the guys that make people disappear if they just do whatever they're ordered to. And I guess maybe the worse that they do, they get better paid. Who knows? I don't know. But I noticed that it was updated to include our experience at the checkpoint.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
On
now
Wikipedia.
on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's part of their. Somebody already added that in, that they were
Wow.
involved in
Yeah.
all of that. So it was kind of interesting.
But I kind of knew. I was
Well, you chatted them up.
a little bit.
A little bit.
Not a.
No, it was a good. If I'm faced with police like that, I just ignore them until you can't ignore them, sort of thing. And Mireille
Wow.
was chit-chatting, and it turned out to be not probably a bad idea.
I don't know. I mean, I was sitting in the shade on the prisoner side of the barricades, and these men were standing like over top of us, talking about us, or and at one point he said something about marriage, and I pointed to my wedding ring and I pointed to Paul, and they said, "Oh," and from there I discovered one was the father of 2 children. One fellow said that it was good that we were supporting the Palestinians, and another guy was quite angry. He seemed angry, like, we speak Arabic, this is Egypt. And I get that. There's a part of me that understands that Egypt is a sovereign country, that we were foreigners coming there thinking that we could do whatever we want. Maybe that's what he thought. I mean, I know that we were working with our delegations and that they were working with Egyptian authorities and so on. But there was a part of me that understood how he might be angry with a foreigner, like internationals coming and behaving like this is whatever, a free-for-all, or I don't know. But I mean, there's also a part of me that says there's a genocide happening.
Yeah.
You take a stand at some point. You either do what your government tells you to do, or you support the Palestinians. And this is a divide that I've seen in Canada. We've seen it in Canada. The people support more and more. Canadians support justice for Palestinians, and the government doesn't, or the government stands with Israel. And we see this, and especially on the march to Gaza, I saw this is happening all over the world. The people stand with Palestinians, governments stand with war criminals.
Yes.
That seems to be the divide in the whole world,
And that's what our stand really highlighted.
Yeah, because it's a civil society taking action. We're done waiting for our governments who are doing nothing.
Exactly, yeah.
We're apolitical. We're self-funded. We are just people of the world who realize that nothing will be done by our government. So we need to try to do something.
Yeah.
We need to try to do something for the sake of our collective humanity. We are responsible for it. And if I don't do anything, I just literally can't sit with myself. I can't, because if I was in their shoes, I'd want people to do something.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Well,
yes.
When you see the videos and the news coverage, it's why isn't the world doing something? You'll see somebody that, especially if they've just lost a family member or their neighbors or what have you. Why isn't I don't know how many times I've heard that when you watch the suffering.
Why isn't the
world doing something?
I do resist that to some extent, because I think the world is doing something. Governments are not. Leaders are not. The people of the world are in the streets. The people in the world are doing what everything that they can do. They're signing petitions. They're getting arrested. They're forming encampments. The people of the world are, and they haven't stopped. It would be so easy for people to say, oh, you know what, we can't do anything, so let's just give up. But they're not. The people of the world. It's the governments, especially Western governments, that have the power to do arms embargoes or to call, recall their diplomats and send like anything, any kind of action that they can take against Israel. They're the ones who aren't doing it. And I would throw many religious leaders in that category as well.
So it's interesting because that means we have the will, but we don't have the power.
Regular
we
people.
are incapable of mounting, an expedition full of. Like early on, I kept saying, remember like how many something came up about hospital ships and how many there must be in the world. Like, why aren't they all gathering on the coast of Gaza to bring, at least medical aid, right? That was one thing early on, but that's never going to happen. And then, the Hague group that just had
there's some hope there.
Yeah, they called for a meeting in Bogota, Colombia that lasted for 2 days, and they had, and I wouldn't be able to rhyme them off, but 6 things that countries could do that they're supposed to sign up to these 6 things that each country should do, along the lines of boycotts and upholding international law, because, for instance, Canada has an obligation, especially with the settlements in the West Bank that the court ruled are illegal, and I think Israel has till the end of the year, as if it's going to happen, to vacate the occupied territories, which they're never going to do. But we have an obligation as a country to take action when this was ordered, So we're not doing it. Just the hypocrisy of the West is stunning to watch, and how our politicians strut around and they'll tell every other country in the world how they should act as far as human rights are concerned. But when it's in this situation and it's Israel, like, no, we don't even see it,
Well, Munther Isaac, he's a Lutheran, is he? Minister in Bethlehem, I believe. At one point in the last 20 months, he said, never to our friends in the West, never again lecture us about human rights. And he's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah. This is Western leaders looking at Palestine. I can't see it. Where is it?
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's right. Yeah.
So we did what we could as just civil society, the will to
we did what we could.
To uphold like that. And that's my where I stand. Like, if we have all these wonderful UN conventions and so forth about how nations should conduct themselves in international law and international humanitarian law, if we're not going to consistently uphold it, then there's nothing. And it just like the ICC then becomes something that only goes after African leaders,
Yes.
but
Or
not,
Putin.
or Putin, like, that was. Well, I don't want to get in.
The curtains have been pulled. The curtains have been pulled, and we see the world for what it is. And there's and there's no going back now. And it feels incredibly isolating, which is why I feel so lucky to have met you. And that was one of the other parts of the trip. I thought, I'm going to meet people who care about humanity just as much as I do in this world.
Yes. It's a crisis, isn't it? It's a crisis of our humanity.
Yes.
And by that I mean, what we hold sacred, what breaks our hearts, what makes us human. That we're in crisis, I think.
Yes. We're so conditioned from a young age to not pay attention to what's happening to other people. Like, focus on, okay, what's the new fashion? What should I like? How to appear cool or fun to the people around you? How to appear successful? That's what we're told to focus on. We don't see what's happening elsewhere in the world. And it makes us like, I think it makes us feel dead inside. That's why so many people are on antidepressants. We're so disconnected from the human race. All it is about consumerism and Hollywood and pop culture, which is so vapid and empty. It makes you feel so alone.
I agree. And we've been watching for 40 years. We've been watching an economy that dehumanizes people, a soulless economy where
Yes.
people have to work 2 or 3 jobs and they still need the food bank, where families are showing up at shelters, and we just sort of we keep going on our through our day. We're seeing social policy that criminalizes the poor. You know, it's the poor that are carrying you know, neoliberal economics, which, you know, never, it doesn't work. Like it, how shall I say, if you don't tax the wealthy, then you can't have a government, you can't have social programs. And when the government falls short, who carries that burden? It's the poor and the unemployed. And we've been watching this for so long. I'm thinking too that that's part of our like our own dehumanization.
Yes. Under capitalism, where we see people as sources of labor that rather than human beings.
And if you're poor, it's your fault.
Yes.
If you're out of work, it's because you didn't take the right courses, you didn't write a good cover letter for your resume. Let's try career cruising, or it's just, to me, it's just making individuals responsible for social problems.
Yes.
And this is probably part, I've just been thinking about this for a while, that this is probably part of why we've become, as you say, deadened. And I think too, because we're alienated from nature, we're not
That's a big one.
Yeah, we're not really in touch with, like, our relationship to the earth is also profoundly damaged, and that's part of what's happening, I think.
We're going to get a big test with that too, with the, you know, the bills that they passed, where they're going to ramp up, you know, extractivism and opening up new areas for minerals and so on and so forth, whether Indigenous people like it or not.
This is in Canada.
Yeah. Probably for sure other countries, but that's what we're heading towards, you know, a further. It's bad enough now, but in terms of the human condition that you described, Mireille, and then it's going to be more of the same. And I think we're going to see, you know, some real pushback. That'll be the next big social justice issue in the country.
I hope we'll see pushback. I feel like people are so tired from working multiple jobs.
Yes.
You know, just trying to stay afloat.
Well, and they're buying off the unions that they need.
Are they?
For instance, well, in the sense that any of the trades, right? And I mean, as a working class guy, like, yeah, people want work, and they'll take the best paying jobs, you know, they can get for their trade. But we if this summer doesn't teach us anything, you know, we've in Toronto and in Windsor, like, we spent the whole summer so far like breathing in smoke, you know, from the wildfires. And, you know, we can only continue on. They keep telling us, right, that we can only continue on this track for, it might already be too late for changes that can't be reversed. And, you know, instead of talking about truly a new economy and a just transition for workers to move to new work, it's just going to be, you know, looking at, you know, being favorable to the workers and unions that are in the trades. And then, for instance, as an example, I just saw a bulletin from CUPE where they just settled a strike with the WSIB workers.
Oh.
And then CUPE announced that the Ontario government is they're farming out some jobs to private sector. If that isn't bad enough, but it's an American-owned. There's a Canadian branch of it, but it's still an American-owned corporation.
He's supposed to be Captain Canada.
So only, you know, some workers are, you know, worthy, and it's like that Noam Chomsky idea of the worthy and unworthy victims. he was. I think that was in his early work about how we view certain groups of people over others. And for instance, the Ukrainians are worthy victims, but the
Yes.
Palestinians are
Right.
unworthy
Yes.
victims. Like there's
True.
always this,
Yeah.
dichotomy.
What keeps you going then?
Oh,
Well,
Um,
some days I just, it's like,
it's
Just-
difficult.
we were talking
Yeah.
about how sometimes I feel more helpless than when I left to Egypt
mhm.
because I was
Yeah.
so close. I was there. I
Yeah.
felt like maybe I could have done something. Maybe we could have let in food or medicine or something.
Hmm.
Some of the dust from the bomb buildings may have fallen on us in the air, blowing through the air or
Yeah.
something. I wondered about that. We were that close,
Yes.
and and it's worse since we got back.
The
The
massacres.
massacres, those cursed aid. I don't even want
Yes.
to call them that. They're just kill zones.
But I think
Um,
because they're losing, that's
Well,
what I'm hearing anyway.
but
Is that they're being extra violent because they know they're losing?
They're losing. Yeah, they've
public
lost.
opinion. They're losing public opinion, but
But if,
they seem to be making their way towards having at least hundreds of thousands of Palestinians near a border that they can force them over, or have somebody take them. But we were over there. We were in Cairo when they attacked Iran, and then
Yes, that was the night before we were going to go on the march.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then like in Syria, just most recently. So this is like an out of control country that nobody
Mhm.
will say in power. Nobody will say anything against. And then we went there to try to do our part, and the whole thing is just forgotten about for the most part, like in
Yes.
terms of what people are aware of. And it probably started with the attack on Iran that was the big news,
Yes.
and as it should be. And it was pretty
I
outrageous.
hated how they said it was a preemptive strike. What does that even mean? No, you attacked first. It's not a
E-
preemptive strike.
Everything. In fact, I was mentioning earlier in the day before we came on the podcast, sorry, I can't remember his name, but he wrote the book
Oh,
someday.
Omar, what's his last name?
uh,
Omar al-Aqad. Yeah.
and he makes that point about I lost my train of thought. With Israel and
The
this
preempt.
idea of their idea of national security is now, actually no, it was another article I read on Substack. So this idea of national security is morphing into something else where you have to externalize it more and more.
Yes.
So their idea of a preemptive strike is because they're surrounded by enemies everywhere. So anything they attack is according to their needs as a national security concern.
The Arab Peace Initiative is comprised of over 40 Arab and
yeah.
Muslim countries who have guaranteed Israel its security
Right.
in exchange for recognizing a Palestinian state and withdrawing from the 1967 lines in Gaza and the West Bank.
See, right there.
So to tell
Nobody
me
talks about the.
No.
Even you just reminded me. I've read that before,
Yes.
and you've just reminded me.
3
of it.
times Israel has rejected this
Mhm.
because it doesn't want peace. It wants domination. It wants the upper hand. It wants geopolitical
Mhm.
domination over Arab and Muslim countries. And that's how it thinks that it will stay in power
Mhm.
because there is no such thing as a peaceful settler colony.
Yeah.
It was started through ethnic cleansing, land dispossession, land theft, murder.
Mhm.
And that's why every person there holds a gun because they need an army to just exist.
Mhm.
Right.
There is nothing peaceful about it. I'm sorry.
No, you're
No,
right. You're
you're
absolutely right.
right.
And then we hear, the reports of even southern Syria is in their sights, the Sinai Desert, which is
Yeah.
another reason. Who
Well,
were we
that's
just
what
talking
a lot of
about?
people in Egypt were telling me
Yeah.
that this is something I haven't heard before, but I guess it must be like a national concern of theirs, is that when there was peace between Israel and Egypt, they said that Prime Minister Begin, he got swindled. That just with a peace treaty, he because they withdrew their forces from the Sinai. Anwar al-Sadat was the president of Egypt at the
Right.
time. So for the longest time, they think that they made a mistake by giving up the Sinai.
Yeah.
So a lot of Egyptians who I talked to said, or one of the reasons they justified what their government did was, well, Egypt doesn't want to give Israel any excuse to recapture the Sinai. So
Yeah.
if Egypt lets you walk there, Israel can say, oh, these are Hamas members, these are terrorist
Yeah.
people,
Mhm.
and we're going to take it back.
Yeah.
He called us jihadists.
Who did?
Netanyahu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were jihadists. Congratulations.
You don't
Did
even.
you have to like join a group or pay your dues, or did you have to kill infidels? How many infidels do you have to kill to become a jihadist?
Hmm.
They're keeping that a secret because I
Yeah,
didn't
of
even
course.
get the
Of
memo.
course.
Or
We don't want
anything.
everyone to join. We
Yeah.
are selective with our jihad.
But what I've read is, I mean, clearly Israel has lost control of the narrative. I mean,
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to say is there may be some room for hope for us, because Israel, nobody believes that they need to control the whole area for their self-defense, or nobody believes that anymore. They can say whatever they want. Nobody believes that they're victims here. They've lost complete control of that narrative, I think. And what I've read is there's like dissent. Their economy is not doing well. There's dissent within Netanyahu's party. We're seeing young people burn their draft cards. So when I say they're losing, it's possible that all this pressure from the likes of you and me has had some impact.
Effect, yeah.
And maybe these are the final days of I don't know.
The Zionist entity.
Yeah,
That's
well, not the Zionist entity, maybe, but or of the genocide at least.
Yeah.
If we can stop that. Then.
It's like, when we say we want an end to Israel, remember when Nazi Germany, we were like, we want an end to Germany. It's like we want an end to the Nazi regime in Germany, and we want an end to the Zionist regime in Israel.
That's
We're not
right.
saying we want people to die or we
Right.
hate Jewish people. Like my best friend is Jewish. It's this narrative that Israel uses to make Jewish people scared and to only believe their narrative and to have them fight for its existence.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Zionism is just a form of colonialism.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is what it is.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you can identify it as a right to self-determination or, but at the end of the day, it is a colonial movement in which European white, Israel is a Ashkenazi-led movement. All the
Yes.
prime ministers of Egypt have been, sorry,
Or
not Egypt, of
Israel,
Israel
yeah.
have been Ashkenazi. All
Yeah.
the people in
Yeah.
power, right?
Mhm.
It is a white settler movement that needed more people, so it pulled the Arab Jews from their countries, which they had been living in for centuries.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We never had problems with Jewish people. It was Europe that was anti-Semitic.
That's right.
So it's just really frustrating to me. Like we didn't have a lot of Jewish communities in Jordan, but there was a huge one in Egypt. There was a huge one in Iraq,
Mhm.
in Syria. And it's really sad to me that those people now see us as their enemies or they hate us
Yes.
when
yeah.
we lived with them for hundreds of years. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying there were no pogroms in the Middle East, zero. Yes, there were. And I'm not saying that that's okay, but I think the gap to close between living side by side with a neighbor and then having them be thousands of miles away and taught to hate you is so much bigger.
Mhm. And they're shaking hands with Christian Zionists who believe that Jews are going to go to hell because they haven't accepted Jesus as their savior or some kind of thing like that. That strikes me as the most bizarre thing. They're shaking hands with Christian Zionists, and yet they see Palestinian Muslims as the enemy, or that that's only the world is upside down.
More
Like
the
there's no
crazy-
logic
yeah.
in it.
Well, these are crazy people who think the rapture will happen
Exactly.
if
yes.
the Jews are all in Israel.
Yes, exactly.
It's a bit crazy.
And a lot
End
crazy.
timers. I
Yeah.
call them, yeah.
And the Jews won't be raptured or whatever the verb is because they're Jewish.
Oh, they won't be.
I don't think. No, you
Oh.
have to be baptized and blah 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 blah. You know,
Well, you're jihadists now, so
I guess.
you
That's
won't
right.
I
be
guess.
saved from the rapture, unfortunately.
Intifadist, maybe. Is there a word, intifada?
We watch
Yeah.
everybody else go. Oh, I guess it was true after all.
Well, I won't be sad to
I'd rather
see them go.
stay.
Actually,
Yeah, I'd
some
rather.
of them are real downers.
That's why it's so important to stay focused on. We live in the here and now, and I'm the first one to admit that history plays a large role. Not the only time I've been to that part of the world is when we went to Cairo last month. But what I'm trying to say is that we live, in a world where we constructed this grand vision of the UN and international law, and it's either going to be that world or it's going to be the one where might makes right, which we're pretty much
That's
already seeing. So if
yes.
you can clobber the guy next to you because you can, and they have something you want, then that's, and we've been there.
Yeah,
Most of
yeah.
human history was like that, and I think, and like I was a kid in the 60s, and the whole thing about nuclear war, and it at times appeared imminent, or there was a lot of talk of it. There was always talk about nuclear weapons, and then as you went into the 70s, they had all these treaties,
Mhm.
but in the 60s especially, the world leaders, they all had direct experience with war. Khrushchev was in the front lines against the Russians. I think he was a political officer, and the European leaders and, American, and they knew what total war looked like.
Mhm.
And indeed, that war ended with 2 nuclear, attacks. But now, today, what I find startling is that obviously for decades, they've been perfecting missile technology.
Mhm.
Like everything is carried out. They can sort of, without, like they're all making sure there's sort of, okay, this is the red line, so we can fire this number of missiles at these types of targets, expect this kind of retaliation, and then maybe we'll see what happens after that. So even the way people think about war is different, but it's like no matter what, like Israel's a nuclear armed state,
Yes.
obviously United
Which
States.
and it's not part of the proliferation treaty,
That's
right?
right. They've
So
never.
the US cannot send it weapons legally under the Leahy law.
Well, like there again, right? There's laws for some people, but they don't apply to Israel.
Yeah.
And yet Iran, like maybe possibly could sometime in the future use the nuclear technology they have to amass some nuclear weapons, but they're the big danger right now when apparently they don't have any weapons, and they're the ones working within with the atomic energy, whatever it's called, like inspections, and they're following the rules, in other words, is what I'm trying to say. But the rest of the world doesn't, and they only follow rules when it suits their purpose.
Yeah.
So we're flirting with that total conflagration. If somebody makes a mistake, or they screw up and I guess we crossed the red line. Oh well, it's too late now. I guess we'll just fire them all. Like it's it's on the edge of total madness.
But I think we're already there. I think if you don't care, if the Palestinian plight does not break your heart,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but you must be concerned about international law, because if a genocide can happen there, it can happen anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But white people don't believe that, I find.
Well, but look at
Yeah.
the United States right now. I think there's an ethnic cleansing happening there. They're under the guise of undocumented workers,
National
or
security.
they're here illegally, and so on and so forth. But I think that Donald Trump, well, I know that Donald Trump made comments about Mexicans from the beginning, even the first time he ran for president. This is about getting rid of brown people.
Yes.
And some of the people that they've rounded up, we've heard the stories, they're American citizens. Or one woman was visiting New York from Chile. She was just stuck on a vacation, Chile or Argentina or something. She was just on vacation. She was rounded up. People who and the undocumented workers that they've rounded up, the vast majority of them are just working.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that the owner, the employers, they're never rounded up, even though they're doing something illegal, right? They're employing people who don't have green cards. That's not legal. They're not rounded up. This is about race. This is about, about ethnic cleansing. And why is it happening there? Well, it was allowed in Gaza, and it's spreading now to other places. And if Israel is allowed to just annex, Syria or parts of Syria or Lebanon or even the West Bank, well, isn't Donald Trump talking about annexing Canada and Greenland? I mean, the international law protects us all.
Mm-hmm.
So even if your heart is not broken over Palestine, and I think you need psychological help if it's not, but even if it's not, you should be concerned about international law. It should be applied the same to everyone because it keeps you safe.
Yes.
Because we're talking about states that have the capacity for, from a local town police force right up to the armed forces and nuclear weapons. So if might makes right occurs internationally, you can already see the state, and we'll see it in Canada. Like if they don't make arrangements the way Indigenous people want for these resource developments, you're going to see what the state can do when they determine that, because they tried it before, right? That they were going to, in BC with the pipelines a few years ago, even starting before COVID, which people probably have forgotten. They were starting to do railway blockades.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movement that was gaining steam, and then COVID hit. And there was going to be a heavy state response, so might makes right at home and abroad.
Yeah.
It's also that Donald Trump saying peace through strength, which I hate. It's the exact same thing.
Oh, that's right out of Orwell. Yeah. That's
well. And didn't the Nazis use similar terms?
Peace, did they?
Peace through strength. Certainly, that was part of the nuclear arms race. The part of the line that people were sold was, we'll have peace as long as we have, nuclear weapons. And
there was in the missile silos, there was slogans like that, similar, peace through strength, and because the missiles were seen as a deterrent, like the mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
So if you launch, we launch, and we're all gonna, burn. So that was this balance of terror, they called it, or they called it balance of power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also insane, but that apparently was what prevented, some kind of nuclear war in the past. But now it's just pure Orwell, where war is peace and
and conventional weapons, as we see in Gaza, conventional weapons are
unbelievably savage.
What they can do.
I mean, dropping a bomb on people living in tents, I can't think of anything more horrific or violent.
They're just and the drones now, I guess they've developed them, even those small ones that would have a gun on them.
Really?
So they figured out, because if it fires, there's a recoil, so they figure out how to adjust for that. So they're experimenting, which is what they've always every time there was a major attack on Palestinians in Gaza, there was always an element of trying out new weapons, and this idea where they can they don't even need the big bombs, they can just go in with a few of these drones, and everybody's running for their lives because they could be shot individually.
What do you think it would take to live in a world that doesn't make guns and bombs, and where people don't think about killing each other in advance?
That's a good question. Because I'm just, while you're talking, Paul, I was just thinking about all the research that went into creating these weapons of death, these means of killing people, right at the time when we should be looking at, how do we make solar power available for everyone? How do we wean ourselves off oil? How do we reconnect with the earth? How do we feed people? Like right at the very time when we need all this, instead we're doing something else. So I don't know. Like clearly we're in crisis, and that's not enough. To answer your question, clearly it's not enough to make to make us
plus,
stop doing what we're doing.
and we're all fighting with each other. Like,
Yeah.
they want to separate out west and working class people. I was just reading an article about these white supremacist groups using like gyms as places to train.
Oh,
Undercut, like not saying what their true purpose is. They're just
like
being
militarily trained?
Well, they're
Or-
going like martial arts and boxing
Oh.
and just that
Mm.
like just being ready for what they think is coming
The
as a
race
race
war?
war. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So CBC had a big
Shouldn't
article
they
about
like
that.
be looking at those people? Like shouldn't those are the people who are a menace?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Exactly. The ones they're rounding up just want to work.
Yeah.
And they
There's
work
no
so
gang,
hard.
There's
Oh
no
my
gang members that they're rounding up. Like
No.
if there were, they'd have proof. Like they'd be obviously, but they never show any proof about who it is they're rounding up. It's
And recently, I think it was
a big
proven
black
that some
hole.
sort of police department in America used AI to create a photo of like all the things they got from a bust, like a drug
Mm.
bust, and it was a fake AI photo.
Oh, right.
Mm.
I think I saw that too.
Meanwhile, these people are working.
Yeah.
They're just working to support their families. Like the level of hatred to create an alligator Alcatraz.
I can't
Like
believe
the
that.
level of hate. How much do you hate people? They feed you.
Nationalism is the hate. I think you and I
Yes.
were talking about
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
where nationalism is so dangerous.
It's scary, I think, yeah. When people start waving flags and
Mm-hmm.
chanting slogans,
Mm-hmm.
usually nothing good
But we are
comes out
going
of
to
it.
chant the jihadi slogan. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. We are going
The
to.
only flag I'm flying right now is a Palestinian flag, and that's because Palestinian people have the right to exist in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the flag is a reminder, and as is the kufiya, that these people it'll exist in the world and they have the right to be here as much as
Mhm.
anybody else.
So I read somewhere, and I love it. Like states don't have a right to exist;
That's right.
people do.
Yes.
Yes.
So
That's right.
states have come and gone, obviously in the world, but people, it's people that have a right, and they should have the right to organize, in the way they want to.
Self-determined.
Like
yeah.
the Palestinians, the Kurds, the Rohingyans, just off the top of my head, like these are people that have been left out after the great powers carved up all the world and made sure the lines were drawn in a way to keep a bunch of other ethnic groups at odds with each other. And
I read somewhere if there's a conflict now, it can be traced back to the British Empire,
pretty much,
Ah,
yeah.
like Pakistan and India,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Palestine, Israel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're line drawers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One Direction and Zayn Malik. It's all the British Empire. I'm glad I got that in. I'm glad I got it in, baby.
Oh man, some levity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were joking earlier about they may have saved some lives if they really wanted to screw us over
Yeah.
in the Egyptian desert. They
They
should have
could-
let
they
us
could have
march.
just
to see,
let us
see
march.
which one of us managed to crawl
We'd be
out.
begging for the police.
Because
Get us
I
out of the
wasn't.
desert.
It wasn't until you're all hopeful. I had it in my head we were going to carry through and make this
Yes.
happen. That's why I was so worried
Mhm.
about packing and it didn't happen. And then I come back thinking, man, could I have really,
Walk through the desert.
walk through the desert? Plus, we were going to spend 2 days in tents
Yes.
at
Yeah.
Rafah.
Yeah.
So like that was a full week
Yeah.
of fun and frivolity.
And no
before we-
showers.
No
and
showers.
not-
No
I bought a
showers.
female urination device.
Oh,
Did you buy one,
Oh,
Mireille?
they kept
No.
that was the
Oh.
other thing on the list.
Yeah, it was on the list.
I didn't even know there was such a
Oh.
thing.
That's the
Oh,
lengths
I
I
kinda
was willing
remember.
to go to.
I kind of remember, but there was a part of me that thought, no, there'll be buses and there'll be
For-
Yeah.
washrooms.
What did they say?
Maybe not
For men,
showers.
all the world is a washroom.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. Like now that we're talking about the march, I'm wondering what was the best case scenario for you? Because I know we had kind of like the Canadian delegation met online and we were talking and catching up. And I'm wondering because one of our delegates thought we were going to break the siege and bring water and food in.
Yes, she
And so I'm
did.
wondering when you went, what did you think the best thing we could accomplish would be?
That we would break the siege. For
You
me,
really
anyway.
did?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
thought
We're going to do this.
we could walk. We would walk. We'd get to Rafah, and our very presence there, I mean, if we're dreaming in Technicolor, I guess, but our very presence there would remind everyone that we're talking about human beings. Like, come on, these are human beings,
just like us.
just like us. And the world does care about Palestinians. Maybe leaders don't, but the world does. And that we would have a humanizing effect. Like, everyone's watching, so let the food in, let the aid in. That was what I thought. Like, that was the best. I mean, before we left, we were told, no, they might not let us go, and so I was prepared for that too, that we might not go. But in my greatest hopes was that we would go, and this might actually be a turning point, that we might say, well, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Let's be human beings again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking.
By we, you mean the world.
The world.
What is the world doing here?
Yeah, that this might be a turning point for the world, because this is unprecedented, what we did, really.
And then we thought if they weren't going to let us in, we wouldn't even get in. We'd just be turned around and sent back home. I don't think we thought.
They kept telling us.
We never really figured too far ahead about so they warned us we could be stopped and detained and then deported. But nobody, I think, had the scenario in mind where we would sort of get out on the road and then be stopped out
in the desert
and
barricaded in the parking lot, and I guess we sort of envisioned, well, like we'd get to Arish or something, and they would say, well, no, this is as far as you're going.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. The worst case is we get on the bus, we get to the checkpoint in Arish. The guy says, no, we're not going to let you through. And I'm like, okay, we're here. We tried. But I don't think the organizers themselves expected the level of violence that we were shown.
And the skullduggery, if that's the word. Like, what? Okay, you don't want us to go, then we were all in Cairo. You knew who our leaders were. Just say you're not going.
We were transparent with them. That's the thing that bothers me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I got a lot of hate from Egyptians. They're like, you're coming here to make problems for our country. Go Egypt. And it's like, we're not coming here to make problems. Where is your humanity, Egyptians? Why aren't you standing with the Palestinian people?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just very frustrating and very isolating to have all this hate thrown at us when all we're trying to do is stand up for a besieged, starved population.
My goodness.
That is being genocided. I really don't get it.
Yeah.
I really don't understand the mental gymnastics people have to go through to blame us.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you blame your country? Why don't you blame Israel? Why don't you? Oh, and the other thing is like, they're like, oh, go back to your own countries and do so. It's like, yeah, well, we've been trying.
We've been doing that,
for 2 years.
We've been doing that, yeah.
My MP won't meet with anyone about Gaza.
Carney?
No, my MP, Chrystia Freeland.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys met with our local MP, but it was before the election. Now he's been ousted, but yeah,
some drama there.
Well,
he lost to a conservative by 4 votes in a recount.
I think something worse. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, so close.
So close.
4
but no
votes
cigar.
To a conservative.
To a conservative. You're killing me here.
2 in Windsor.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the I forget now what I was going to say. I hate when
knowing what we went through. Would you still go back?
Well, be more realistic about
I would do it differently. I'd bring a burner phone for one thing, but I think it's I think what we did, when it was over, when like after we were sent home and so on and so forth, like sent back, from
well, tell
Ismailia.
people what happened.
It's like everyone says, like it pales in comparison, but
to what the Palestinians are going through.
Sure,
absolutely.
but so nobody was going to just get on the bus because they told us to.
Right.
We determined, and there was a meeting of they asked for delegates from each country from where we were, and to meet quickly and just make a decision, and it was that we're staying.
Yeah.
And then so that went on all afternoon, and then I guess they got orders, and then they started pulling people.
Who's they got orders? The
Those Baltagia,
Baltagia.
Well,
and they just started pulling people, and then that's when we were kind of back a ways where there was some shade, and then we heard the kerfuffle, and then I went. You were with Elizabeth, another Windsor comrade, and I just went ahead to see what was going on, and I was taking some video, and then a call went out to just sit, kind of a sit in, lock arms
from the delegates,
from just the delegates that were there,
people,
and then they just started grabbing people, and the next thing
and
I
you
knew,
were violently put on a bus.
Yeah, all of a sudden I was getting pulled and lifted and carried and half carried and everything.
Well,
and then
you had been filming though. Or
but
recording with your phone.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of that. It was because I was locked arms with
I locked
others.
arms with Elizabeth and somebody else.
But that's when they wanted people to get on the bus no matter how they did it.
They pulled us apart.
But that's where we got separated. And then I was careless, I guess, because when I was on the bus and I found myself right next to a window, and they're still brutally assaulting people. I mean, they're not clubbing anybody or whatever, but I heard, people were slapped, punched. I think I got punched on the side a bit to get me. I was just making it. I just didn't want to go easy, but it was nothing really. I didn't take it personally.
I was pushed, but
yeah, and so I was filming out the window, the chaos, and then one of those guys saw me, and then at about the same moment, I saw Mireille and Elizabeth. So I knew Mireille was with somebody, and it looked like you were going to another bus. But at the same time, then there's guys coming on the bus to get me because they wanted my phone. So they pulled me off the bus, and then I shoved it behind me to safe.
What, on the bus?
On the bus. It was just a reaction.
Yeah.
I should have just kept it with me, and they'd already erased some video I'd taken before.
Right.
When we were in the crowd during the afternoon. They saw me filming something, and they just kind of came around me, and they took the phone and then went through it and then erased it, gave it back to me. So I should have just, but anyways, it was just a reaction. And then, I think it was the same guy. One guy he was foaming at the mouth practically. He says, "This is our country. You can't do whatever you want," something like that. And then they sat me in a van for a while. And then one guy asked me how old I was. And I told him, and I don't know why he asked. That was the end of that. And then I was able to get back on the bus, but
she was on a different bus.
On a different bus, and then I asked the driver if he would find out and let Mireille know where I was, that I was on the bus.
But I was asking too, where is Paul? Where's my husband?
So then when the buses and it took forever to get everybody's passports back. They just had them in piles and plastic bags. It was not a sophisticated operation. So they were handing people's passports back, and there was a big... By this time it's getting dark. Yeah,
some of them. Yeah. I got mine before. Paul.
Me too.
Yeah, they throughout the afternoon they were doing things like
they give if
you want your passports, just get on the bus. So we said, well, we'll call a taxi. How about that? Yeah. And there was this whole thing: get on the bus, we'll get on a taxi, and we'll go back to Cairo. But no, get on the bus. So that went on, and then at one point they gave us back our passports. And one guy, I was sitting. By this point, I had moved to the back of the parking lot because the shade had shifted, and I was sitting on a curb, and he kind of like brushed me on the top of my head, and I looked up, and he said, "You have your passport. Why don't you get on the bus? Go on the bus now, and you can go to Cairo." I said, "I'm not going without everybody else. I'll wait for the Canadian delegation to get here from checkpoint 2. How about that?" And we'll call a taxi and we'll go. You're not getting on the bus. No, I'm not getting on the bus. And at first I think what they were trying to do was to separate us by country. So the French go here, the Dutch go there, and that wasn't working because people were singing, they were chanting. So then they brought in the barricades. And And then this whole take the bus. No, we're not getting on the bus. And then at one point they just took the barricades away, and then they started to swarm into the parking lot. And someone yelled out, lock arms, sit down.
Mm-hmm.
So we all did that, and they pulled us apart. And as Elizabeth and I were walking, we saw somebody. I don't know who, a plainclothes police officer or whatever, pulling a woman by the hair, like by the top of her head. And we stopped, and then someone bumped me, and then someone also told me, you've left your bag, because I had Paul's bag, but my own bag was back on the curb, and it was actually my sister's bag. And Elizabeth was like talking about, give us this woman. So I went back and got my bag. I came and found Elizabeth. I didn't want to lose. She was another person from Windsor, and we got on the bus. So we were like the last people on the bus, which was a good thing because we were more towards the front instead of like in the crush of people in the back. Because she thought she was going to have a panic attack with all the people around.
Yeah.
But then, we got on the bus. People got their passport. It took a long time because people were still getting their passports. Somebody came and told me he was on the other bus. And I thought, I like to think it's because they remembered me as a person, and they said, okay, we'll tell her husband's over there. So that made me feel better. But Elizabeth pointed out, she said, you don't know if he's really on that bus until you see him. I said, well, okay.
It's hard to believe anything
at that point. Yeah.
And then, so by now it's dark.
It's dark.
It's nighttime, so the buses are heading out, and we're pretty sure we're going to get deported.
That's what
sent to the airport. So I
figured I'll meet up with Paul at the airport.
I was the same thing. This is great. We'll hook up there. Well, the airport turnoff came and went.
We see the airport, but we're going this way.
Yeah.
But, okay.
So we are going back to Cairo. Well, this is great. How am I going to hook up?
But are we going to a police station? Are we going
Yeah, and they weren't.
What does this mean?
Each bus had a cop or whatever they were on the bus. So
like in plain clothes.
Yeah, and they were they wouldn't say what was going on. They were just screwing around.
So they stopped.
I want to say this one part because this was so surreal, and I didn't have my camera at this point. But it's nighttime. We're on this main highway, and then out. You look out and it's dark where the desert is, and there was a secondary highway to one side, and there was all these cars stopped with most of them were hatchbacks, and they just had LED colored lights, and it was nighttime, and we're on this bus going to who knows where, and these people are probably just selling snacks and drinks or something along the highway. I'm not sure, but it was just such a sight. And one after, you go by, and then there'd be another one.
We're getting deported. They're just leading their lives.
Yeah. It was just one of those.
That's what made it surreal, maybe.
And then to add to the surreality, if that's a word, we're back in Cairo, all right, but they're just dropping us off at a bridge over the Nile River.
Just dumped us in, like, we stopped just some random dark spot, and the guy says, out. So the first 5 of us, I forgot my hat, so I turned to get my hat, and he started yelling at me. I said, yeah. I'm just getting my hat. So we went out onto the sidewalk, and that was it. And they took off.
They were dispersing us.
Yeah.
They just wanted to break us up so that we weren't in big groups anymore.
Guess.
And then the stories we were all hearing about people in their hotel rooms and so on, I guess wherever they felt there was too many people gathered, they would
The next day, they were raiding hotels and double checking the passports that they had taken from us with anyone who had checked into those hotels.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so that's how they knew to go to the. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they'd ask the front desk, are any of these people staying here? And if they were, then they were detained and taken to the airport right away.
Okay.
That was the next day.
Yeah.
So we changed our hotel. So
but you were separated. It was an ordeal to get you back.
Well, I'm a little embarrassed, but
I went back to the hotel we had stayed at. It was it just seemed to make sense. I'll go back to where we both knew.
Sense.
Yeah.
But so an Uber came up, an Uber driver sensing a fare, right? He came, thank goodness. He's just showed up. So we were standing on the street thinking, okay, well, now what? There's like 4 or 5 of us. And this wonderful Uber driver, stops because he sees us milling. Okay, this is perfect. So he takes us into Cairo, and I'm trying to tell Tatiana because she wants to know what's happening, and nobody was saying.
Tatiana's a lawyer in Canada who
Yes.
was staying in touch with us and
Yeah,
making
she
sure
was
we
a
were
lifeline
okay.
for us. Yes.
Yeah.
So I just put on Signal Chat. I said, well, they just dumped us on the street because she didn't know. And by the way, where's Paul? So anyway, we got dumped into Cairo, and I checked my email in the cab in the Uber, and I saw this strange, like an email from a strange address that somebody I didn't know, and it was very cryptic. Atlas International Hotel, and which is where I stayed. Where we stayed, and it said something about breaking a rule, and I thought,
Sorry, I broke our rule.
yeah, and I thought,
which was that we wouldn't get separated.
how does this person know that I was at the Atlas International Hotel, and I had heard earlier in the day that the police found out about Ismailia because of a WhatsApp leak. So I thought, oh no, has my like email been hacked or? So I thought I'll deal with this later. So we get to this hotel, and I'm with Elizabeth, and I said, look, Elizabeth, I don't have any money. I don't know where Paul is. She said, oh, he'll text you as soon as his phone, we figured his phone had died, or because he had phoned, we saw that he had tried to call her. So, I'm in the hotel room, and I'm starting to really panic now because Paul is in Cairo somewhere. He was filming the military. I don't know if he was on that bus or not. And it's now getting dark, and we're making hotel arrangements. And but where's Paul? Yeah. And Elizabeth said, "Oh, he'll call. I said, "Are you think we're gonna talk tonight?" Anyway, so to make a long story short, I tried to call his phone at one point, and a Turkish person answered the phone, and I thought, well. No,
there was a whole bunch of Turkish guys on my bus. So I don't know if it was one of them.
Well, who knows where? So we called Tatiana, and she said, "Look, Mireille, don't panic." And I said, "Well, I'm past that now." And she said, "What do you think? What's the worst thing that you can imagine? That he's in a police station getting roughed up or something like that?" And I said, "Oh, my imagination can take us anywhere right now, right? Is he wandering the desert?
They found him a new wife. So he's leaving me for an Egyptian woman.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. I was worried about Paul being slapped around. So I just thought, I said, and you should know, by the way, you should know that I did get a strange email today, because I thought I would tell her that maybe my email was hacked, and you should know that there's been this compromise. And she said, well, that's him. And I said, what do you mean that's him? And she said, read the email again. So for the first time, I'm seeing at International Hotel. But at no point does it say, it's me, Paul. I was sending emails to my family. Yeah. As soon as I knew, when I understood that they were going to be seeing this in the news, and I was making sure I'm fine. Yeah. Don't worry. You don't have to call the embassy. It's all okay. It's Mireille here. I'm fine. But nowhere did it say it's me, Paul. And but then Elizabeth said, well, did you have a rule? And then it was occurring to me, we did promise each other we wouldn't get separated. So she said, you mean you had a rule, you stayed at the International Hotel, and you didn't realize that this is from Paul? She said, if we're ever in a murder mystery dinner, I don't want to be your partner. I thought, okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough. Yeah. So we ended up, and it wasn't far. We just walked over to the hotel, and there he was. Wow. Not getting beaten up or wandering the desert. Yet. Yeah.
I was sitting in the cafe having a coffee, waiting for an Uber to drive up with you in it.
And we walked in, Elizabeth and I, but oh my goodness. That was the only time. Because I have to say, my stomach was always kind of roiling, but we got into the parking lot, and they put the barricades up, and I thought, And then I looked over, and I saw this young fellow, I think he was Dutch, or I don't know, but he just sort of he had one of those great big backpacks, He set that down on the ground. He leaned against it like it was like a cushion, and he stretched out his legs, and he crossed his ankles, and he put his hat over his head. And there was something in me that said, oh, you know what? Maybe it's going to be okay. I don't know. I was looking at him thinking, and I stopped really panicking. And I thought sooner or later we're going to be put on those, but I know what's going to happen here. Mm-hmm. We're not going to go to
No, it became
anywhere,
pretty clear we weren't going anywhere from there.
but we're not gonna, or we're also not gonna go on their terms. Like, you know what I mean? Like they'll have to carry us on. But I kind of stopped panicking until I didn't know where he was, and I knew that he had been filming, like recording what the military were doing, which we were told we shouldn't do. But anyway, things like that concern me.
Everybody was filming something. Some people.
No, I know.
The smart ones were live streaming. That's the video that got out.
Right.
Yeah.
See, yes,
I
that's
didn't have a
right.
good connection, and I'm still not very. I'm better at just filming, and I totally forget about live streaming. So that's the video that got out.
But in my defense, the only thing I can say is that I was, shaken, and tired, and
No, you went through an ordeal.
concerned.
And, of course. And you were carrying so much in your body. Like you also have to remember that. Not only the physical trauma of being barricaded and yelled at and all the military and having our passports taken. And the heat didn't help. And being in a foreign country, not speaking the language, like that is a lot.
And there is something about like police everywhere, the omnipresence of police that I find very stressful and disturbing. There was in the year 2000, I guess it was, the OAS had come to Windsor, the Organization of American States. They were coming to Windsor for some reason, like they had meetings and a conference, and so of course there were people there like to protest. Some of these governments were murderous. But in the days and maybe even like a week or so leading up to the OAS conference, there were police all over downtown Windsor, and I remember at that time thinking, "Holy, like they're just walking and they're riding around in cars and whatnot," but just that was, I found very stressful. And I found that to be true of like Cairo in general. I think police everywhere. Yeah.
What would you like just to wrap up, what, if anyone's listening, is there anything you'd like them to know or any message you want to share?
We got to get organized, like as ordinary people. Like we live in, as you were describing earlier, we live in a society of distraction to keep us from recognizing our commonality, just even in our own hometowns and everything. And we were wandering around Toronto. We don't come here that often. It's a big city, and everybody's here. A new world is struggling to be born, and it's only being held in check by, the power elites that are concerned with the way things are, and they want it to keep it that way. And whatever's going on with Trump and Canada, this is a kind of I look at it as a kind of a civil war between capitalist factions.
Right.
And then the working class is just we're either fighting each other or we're getting bought off because some might be winners in this new economy, whatever it is they think they're going to build. And if we just don't get organized around some kind of discipline and the world that you were describing, that's sure it's going to take a long time to get there, but we're not even starting. And I don't know what kind of organizing there would be or what it would look like, because it's probably not going to look like what I saw when I was growing up and what I've been involved in my own activity. But somehow we have
labor organizing, you mean?
Yeah, like I came of age, during work, and I was involved in the union, and then it grew from there. And we have as a people, like we have more in common than we think. We all want to be able to raise children and live in safe communities and get an education, have meaningful work, not just a job.
That's right.
Or a powerful paycheck, whatever the hell that is that Paul Mirelle would talk about. We want meaningful work that acknowledges our humanness
and our souls.
And our souls.
Yes.
And we all belong on this planet, or else we wouldn't be here. Like we're all here now, so we must belong here. Where else would we be? And I don't know what the answer is, but if we just continue on and keep our heads down, like there's going to be a catastrophe coming at us from every angle, like either war, environmental, social collapse, like And maybe that's what it's got to be. I don't know. You look at human history and things go on until they can't, and then everybody figures it out from there.
Yeah. I think too, when we talk about the Global March to Gaza and how it ended up, I don't want people to just think about activists versus police. I really would like people to think about what resources they use to stop people from calling for justice for a group of people who are starving to death. That I think it's more important to remember that group of people who are starving to death.
You're saying Gaza is the story. This march
It
is
should,
not the story.
yeah, and what happened between activists and police. The story is that they use those kinds of resources to stop people from calling for an end to genocide. The genocide should be the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why isn't it the story, do you think?
It's just been the mainstream news media is just burying it or under, the CBC, for instance, there'll be a story every now and then on a kind of a personal, maybe some big outrage or like the attacks at the so-called aid stations, or else it's miscast as
clashes.
Clashes. They use passive language and do everything they can to avoid saying that the Palestinians are being genocided.
And there's a history, as we know, of Palestinians being dehumanized and their value as human beings diminished. And I think that's still what we're seeing being played out here, that they're not seen as worthy of our attention. I disagree.
We really have to look for, Substack and social media and, on Telegram. There's all kinds of channels that are covering things directly. And yeah, sure, you have to be careful. You have to be able to read the media. But it's not impossible or get together and talk more about what about this coverage or what about that coverage or what does this mean? We're not used to doing that at all.
Yeah, that's also true.
I think we need to be more critical about how we're getting word about what's really going on there. Like there's a Telegram channel, the Resistance News Network, and it's directly from Hamas, what their fighters have done. Is it verifiable? Is it verified? I don't know, but it seems like that it's the actual, what they're reporting is what actually happened. And then they'll report on the number of people killed. And then they have another channel, the Resistance News Prisoners. So they have news about who's been taken and word about when they can get word about people that have been held already.
But if you think about, say, September of 2023 and today, the narrative has shifted, I think. And there are very powerful interests that want to make sure that the Israeli narrative is the narrative that we all hear. The fact that we broke through that is, I think, hopeful. I think we managed to flip that,
Yeah, it's because of the money. Like Francesca Albanese, she just released a report that showed all the corporations profiting from.
We read that.
We just read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
She names names and she gives us numbers and she makes it very clear how the economy of genocide, is perperpetuated.
That was brilliant. It's the economy of occupation, and it's now the economy of genocide.
It has morphed into, that's right.
It's pretty cool.
So the fact that we broke through that is something that I think is, I mean, I know we would like more. We would like to see like an end to what's happening there, but maybe in a way we need to say, well, we did do something. We've come far. People who maybe were siding with Israel are now siding with Palestinians. And I think that's pretty remarkable given
the $1 billion propaganda machine that we're up against.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for us too.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, if you like the podcast, please consider joining our Patreon and supporting us financially to afford the studio, the editing, my producer, my audio engineer who work tirelessly behind the scenes. My Patreon is patreon.com/Nour Hadidi. My comedy album is out. It's called Muslim All-Star, and you can listen to it anywhere, really. Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere, all the other places. And yeah, that's it.